So my uncle and I, we were really close. He passed away when I was a little girl, and he used to play Pretty Pretty Princess with me, which has these little plastic rings that you wear during the game. And I loved this one ring, and when he passed away, I put it in his casket with him. And, I did it during the funeral. Everyone saw it in there. And one day, a few weeks after the funeral, I woke up one morning and the ring that I'd put in his casket showed up on my nightstand. No one had removed it from the casket. No one knew how it got there, but it was the exact same ring. And I was little and I didn't think anything of it, but my mom swears up and down that it is the spookiest thing that's ever happened to her.
I went hiking one time with myself and two friends out west, and we drove about 2 hours to an off the beaten track kind of location. We hiked for the day, and then come the evening time when it was starting to get dark, we came across an abandoned logging camp, and we said we'd set up there for the night. We put up our tents, we lit a fire. It was so cold out, and we had our jackets on and were bundled up trying to keep warm. Out of the darkness on this side, we all noticed a figure coming out. What really struck us was straight away that he had no big clothing on. It was freezing out. We were all wrapped up. He was just in like a red plaid shirt, and he was carrying one of these old school tin lunch pails, and looked like he's from, say, the 1800s or something. And he just walked right through us, just right where we were camped, didn't look at us. He continued on into the darkness on the other side of where we'd camped up. And it took us like 5 minutes to realize just how scared we all were. We can just assume it's a ghost of an old logging guy from 100 years ago.
So I moved to the East Village a couple years ago. Everything seemed okay moving in at first, and then little things started to happen that just felt off. The first thing I noticed was knocking on my door, and I assumed it was my sister, so I'd walk over to the door and open it, and no one was there. That was something I always told myself, it's just the pipes, it's an old building, blame it on that. One day after work, I walked home and smelled a gas leak coming out of the apartment, and I didn't realize it was coming from my apartment until I got to the front door. It was reeking. And I opened the door and ran over to the burners, which were all on in the same exact angle. And all the doors and windows were shut in the apartment, which I did not leave them that way. So it was very spooky, and I still live there.
Growing up, me and my sister, we shared a bedroom. One night in the middle of the night, I woke up, and in between our bed was this guy in a pinstripe suit standing there with a fedora and a briefcase. And I was like, obviously assuming that I'm having a dream or a nightmare. And he wouldn't turn or anything. He never looked. I never saw his face. I never looked at him, but he would just stare right out the window. And I threw the covers over my head and would freak out, and then I would fall back asleep. And so one morning after I saw him there, I turned to my sister because we'd woken up at the same time, and I was like, Jillian, I saw this guy last night, and he was standing there with a pinstripe suit, and she was like, and a fedora and a briefcase. And I was like, yeah, and a fedora and a briefcase. And she was like, I saw him too. She's like, I always see him. And I was like, wait, I was like, me too. Right now I can close my eyes and I can see it so perfectly, and I sound like I'm making up the biggest lie in the world, but it's the weirdest thing. I don't know. Me and my sister still talk about it to this day.